Hi, my name's Marco Hansel. I'm with Wayman Fire Protection. I'm a foreman, and I'm also with Local 692. I'm here to demonstrate how the sprinkler system operates. We'll start down here with the 6-inch butterfly valve, which is always kept in an open position. You have this yellow arrow. When it's facing this way, it's always in the open position. And then we have an RPZ here, which is a pressure, or a PRV, pressure reducing valve, which reduces the pressure coming into the building because we have such a high pressure out in the street. If we didn't have this device, we basically have a lot of joints popping everywhere, and that's not good. There'll be water everywhere. So this is very important to have. Then after this, we have another butterfly valve, which is at the check here. And this is a FDC, a check valve here. So this is where the fire department pumps water into the building to add extra pressure. You have gauges here, which are reading around 145 PSI. That tells everyone what kind of pressure we have here. This is a flow switch. This flow switch here activates when there's a movement of water. Basically when a sprinkler head goes off or an accidental thing happens. So then once this activates, it goes to your panel central station, which lets the fire department know to respond, and they'll arrive here as soon as possible in case there's a fire.
Marco, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
Just going back to the pressure reducing valve. Whatever street pressure is coming in from the street, this device will reduce pressure to exactly what we have it set to, which is 145 pounds.
145 pounds.
So whatever's coming in the street, this will regulate. So it'll monitor your surges and keep pressure on top of this valve the same for the system. So that'll automatically do that with all the valving that's here. So whatever comes in, this should always be the same on top. It's important that as your maintenance guys, you keep an eye on these gauges to make sure they sit around 150 pounds. The system is rated for 175 pounds. So if you see something weird here with the going too high, you obviously want to call us or your contractor. They'll be taking care of your building or let you know something's wrong. So if these gauges are too high, something's wrong with this thing, and you should be aware of that. So keep an eye on these gauges periodically. It shouldn't happen. That's something you want to monitor to make sure it's not over 175 pounds. Sorry, Marco.
No, it's fine.
2-inch drain back here, Tim?
This is a 2-inch drain here in case there's an emergency. Usually the fire department, once they know the fire's out, the fire department will shut this valve here. Then they'll come and open this 2-inch drain. The water will flow and it'll go outside. This is your main valve right here. Then you have 2 other valves up top. One is for the first floor and one is for the second floor. This one here that I'm pointing at is for the second floor, and this one here is for the first floor, okay? And that again has the same pressure on the gauges that it does over here. So you can, for some reason, if a gauge goes bad, you can always look at the other gauges. That's pretty much it for here.
One additional thing, on each system, you're going to see a flow switch just like we described down here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so those flow switches are programmed to go back to your panel and indicate there's also a flow, segment which system's going off or where the flow's at. So that additional flow switch up there and the additional flow switch on the other side will indicate where the first or second floor, and it'll indicate that on your panel. One additional thing, Marco, there's also a test drain and off valve. You'll see these valves right here. It's like a brass valve with a red handle. The bigger valves on each one. That is for your maintenance company or your sprinkler company there's a test drain and off position. Obviously during your annual test, you put it to test. It flows water and it tests all your flow switches to indicate that it's working out properly. It can also be used as a drain valve to put it in the drain position so that it goes out the same location as this drain valve, so it goes outside. So there are the 3 drains for your system. Main drain, the 2 test and drain valves for each floor, and that's where you maintain your system at. In an emergency, Marco, if you guys get a water's flowing on the second floor, obviously first make sure that it's not a fire. If you determine that it's not a fire, this is the first place you want to come and close
Shut
either
this.
one of those valves in an emergency. Close them tight clockwise, hard as you can until they get super tight. That's the first thing you want to do to make sure that the water's shut off. It'll still continue to run with the additional pressure in the system, but you won't have any more street pressure. Either one of those valves will do that. Is that correct, Marco?
Yes, either that valve or this valve's a lot easier to get to in case there's no ladder and you can't shut those off up there. But the other thing, once it's in a closed position, this arrow here will be facing like this, okay?
In other
Right
words,
now
with
it's
the pipe-
open.
yep, with the pipe, it indicates open.
Yeah, right now it's with the pipe open, that means it's in service. Once it's like this, it's closed. That's telling you that the water has stopped.
These valves up here will separate the floors. Say if you're doing maintenance on the first floor, you can just use the first floor valve and drain just the first floor and leave the second floor in service, so you still have fire protection. These are used by you're doing maintenance, that kind of thing. In an emergency, obviously go to these two valves. It shuts down the entire building. That's where you want to go first. And first, make sure there's no fire. Don't shut it down. Just think there's no fire. Quick run to there and then shut it down.
The other thing we have is we have two of them, is because we don't want to waste that much water either. We'll shut one off because if we drain the whole entire building, you're wasting a lot of water. So that's why you have two. They're isolated for each floor. We also have two other flow switches like this, a little bit smaller for the elevator. There's one below on the first floor and then one above. We'll probably see that later, but I just want to add that on there in case that tells you if the top sprinkler went off or the bottom sprinkler goes off. So we all know that also responds to the panel there and then lets everyone else
It's a
know.
different flow switch that if that goes off just in the elevator, the panel will say elevator. It'll be a little more precise on where the actual location is. It's required by code to have additional devices for an elevator shaft. Nothing to maintain there, just they're there for the fire alarm. That's about all we have, right?
Yeah, that's it.